This is Ben Television News Roundup, a compilation of major news stories in the week ending. I am Ayo Ajayi. The Nigeria Police Forum UK, a body of London Metropolitan Police officers who are related to Nigeria, has stated they are committed to using their wealth of experience in the British Metropolitan Police to identify and assist the Nigerian government in dealing with security issues in the country. The body made this known at the third Ben Television Security Conference, which was held at the New Scotland Yard, co-organised by the Nigeria Police Forum in the United Kingdom. Key speakers at the conference included Detective Inspector Chuks Graham, Chief Superintendent Rob Jones, Gary McGowan, James Jenkins, amongst many other security experts who shared their experience of effective policing as the key to sustained security. The conference identified community engagement, which is the basis of successful policing in the UK, as the key to combating crimes and criminal tendencies in Nigeria. The event is presented from our studio.
So it can be quite a key step that you can have all the skills, but people don't trust you because you maybe got a criminal background from 3 years ago. And the police will come in and we will help with CVs. With how to dress for an interview, really basic things, but signals that employers look for, and also to think about their skills and what they want to achieve. And then we'll get them ready for the interview, take them in, we'll debrief it afterwards, look at feedback, and just keep going until they get a job. So it's a really practical way of doing it, but it builds on what's already there. And you can replicate as well. We do it with Kicks, which is a rugby-based thing. There's really good rowing happens in East London as well. And also with kind of football things. So, but I think the trick is for the police not to try and start something in a really policey way, but to kind of come in on the terms of the organisation, meet the people, and explain practically what we can do, and then the trust builds from that, especially that one-to-one interaction. But we'll also do things like five-a-side football tournaments and stuff because sports at a level like that, which is absolutely fine as long as the police win.
I want to see how you can help to relate this to the Nigerian context, because I want to understand the strategy you've used as the borough commander to work hard to see the reduction of crime in Newham, which is reliably known in the UK as one of the center spot of crime at the moment in the UK. How have you been able to use this particular strategy of reliable mapping to reduce the network of crime in Newham, and also to be able to get your policing staff to understand the strategies of really hitting the target in terms of relating this to Nigeria, because we are here to share ideas on how your strategy can be able to help the Nigerian security system or the Nigerian police system to develop a new strategy or ideas in order to reduce similar or kind of crimes taking place in Nigeria at the very moment.
So it's quite cheap. Right, the key is we are full of information everywhere, and there's lots of different indices that I can use as a borough commander. So my job really is to simplify and make sense of all the different information. And the way I do that is by just saying that 3 things are important and not changing from it. And that is reducing crime, so we can count the number of crimes and bring them down. Detecting crime, and that's everything from custodial sentence right the way through to community confrontation and things that resolve things informally. But if someone feels they've got justice. And then the last one, which is perhaps the most important, is increasing public confidence and satisfaction in what we do. So there's no point in doing reducing crime and doing a great job as detectives solving it if people don't feel safer as a result of it. So that's kind of a really key one. So it's simplicity, and I think all the police officers can easily get confused, and if we keep knee-jerking to whatever's happened, whether it's a really serious terrorist incident and suddenly everyone is just working it.
We're looking at what we try to get them to think of through PREVENT is at a much earlier stage, because the people that go on to commit the atrocity, they need to live somewhere, they need funding, they need to recruit other members of their groups. So we're looking at all these things at a very, very early stage. As I said, PREVENT works at an early stage by using intervention to support and protect vulnerable people from being exploited by extremists. Because what we have identified are there are people out there who will exploit other people's vulnerabilities to get them to go on to commit terrorist incidents and to get them involved in terrorist activity, whether that's fundraising, building up material, or even helping to identify targets. There are a lot of people out there that will get involved in that. So how do we do that? We encourage individuals and communities to challenge extremist and terrorist ideology and behaviour, and we work in 3 key areas. We support institutions like education and faith institutions. We challenge the ideology of extremists, wherever that may originate from, and we look to protect individuals and safeguard those individuals from getting involved in terrorism in the first place. At the minute, when we talk about where the threat is actually coming from, we have got 3 key areas where that threat is. Al-Qaeda inspired ideology. We also still have dissident Irish Republican terrorism, much more so it's in Northern Ireland, but there's always that concern that it may come back over to the bad old days when the IRA were operating in London. And we also have concerns about domestic extremism. So that may be the far-right incidents that we have, and also includes things like animal rights extremism as well.
What steps do you think should be carried out? And what are your plans? You might be British, but you've got some link with Nigeria. And until something bad happens, nobody will actually know that you're Nigerian. Because it's only when something bad happens that people know that, okay, that guy has got a Nigerian blood in him or her. But when he's winning things, winning gold, he's always British. And so until something, God forbid, bad happens, nobody will know you're Nigerians. So we need to know the steps you guys are taking, we'll take.
Let me first say this. The purpose of the meeting today or the workshop is more or less for us to be informed of the challenges that the Nigerian government or the police are actually facing, in order for us to be able to actually come back and actually tell you exactly what we can do as a service to actually help Nigeria. Because as you will appreciate, this is the Metropolitan Police. We've done everything that we know to do, and we're still doing everything we know to do to actually try as much as possible to deal with the issues that are first affecting us here in the UK. And then some of us have actually come together on a voluntary basis to try and take that expertise that individually we all have to actually help our country in Nigeria. In terms of the video, that request came from Alistair, because we felt that it needed to be, we needed to sort of focus our mind on the main reason that we are here. Not necessarily to brainstorm or anything, but to actually show the reality of the challenges and the situations that are currently happening in Nigeria and how we can actually address some of these issues. Like I said, the workshop, as far as I'm aware, and that was one of the things that we said, was for yourselves and all the dignitaries that came to inform us. Because I think it was Yemisi that actually mentioned it, that it's all good to have these strategies in place, but if you cannot go down to the grassroots and deal with the problem, then the problem is just going to unearth itself again, and you will find that you're caught in the tree, while else you need to go down to the root. And as much as, you know, we're all here, we're patriotic, it will be very, very difficult for us to go to Nigeria and start implementing changes if we do not work collaboratively.
Nigerians in the United Kingdom assembled at the London Mayor's office in London at the City Hall for Ben Television Centenary Lecture to review Nigeria's political and economic future. The event, which attracted Nigerians from all walks of life in the United Kingdom and other Nigerian professionals in the UK, focused on Nigeria's historical development and the way forward ahead of the country's centenary celebration. The lecture is presented from our studio.
The nation, when you look back or even right now, there's a lot of things that give you concern, that makes you think twice, make you think again and again that what is going wrong in Nigeria. And the question, of course, is everybody will say it's down to the leaders. And I want to add it's down to the servants as well. Because the servants allow the leaders to behave the way they are. If somebody The number one that we keep saying is that they do not follow law. They don't follow the rules of the nation. And of course, the people, technically as well, allow that to happen. You've heard what some governors are saying, some ministers are saying, especially really governors. You heard what the Speaker of the National Assembly, Tambuwal, discussed when he made a presentation at the Nigerian Bar Association. Put your hand inside that result. So I bring to you Honorable Barrister Kenneth Gbagi, former Minister of Education.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, let me say without a doubt that this young man, Alistair, who I've known over a period, as a gentleman after my heart. The simple reason for that is we share a lot of similarities with regards to how we can better a lot of our people, how we can do more for our country, how we can make it even better for our children that are up and coming. So to that extent, I'm craving the indulgence of this hall, just as responsible as it is to have catch your attention to the extent that you are here this evening, to say many thanks to you, Alistair. But having said so, you will agree with me from the audience here that Nigeria is a complex, and unfortunately so, complex society where the dynamics are rather too uncommon, the dynamics are rather too tedious, or in another form, too simple for anybody to immediately place the equation of things. He's asked me to talk about political and social situation in Nigeria, but I would rather prefer to turn it the other way around, not living into educational matters where I was as a cabinet minister before the last election, but anything that bothers your mind with regards to the social and political, where it will do us a lot of good because you are coming from different angle of the divide of things that are concerned to, that is of concern to you. What you want to hear is not what I know, or what I know is not what you want to hear. And usually I would rather do it by submitting myself to this audience.
Ahead of Nigeria's centenary celebration next year, Nigeria High Commission UK has begun a series of lectures, symposia and seminars to usher in the 100 years anniversary of Nigeria's amalgamation. Dr. Dalatu Saki Tafido at the first public lecture in London to map the amalgamation of the Southern Nigerian Protectorate with the Northern Nigerian Protectorate said Nigeria is better and stronger together as a nation. The lecture attracted other dignitaries such as Lord Paul Bonteg and Patrick Wilmoth. Ben Television Victor Edozie witnessed the lecture at the Nigeria High Commission.
The Nigerian consumer market would be worth $223 billion, more than double than what it was not so long ago in 2010. So it is an engine of growth. It has capacity, and it is developing, and it can make a massive difference in the economic growth and the economic future of our continent. The other part, which is just as important, and it has shown through its leadership, is the issue of peace and security in our continent. And with the resources that it has, coupled with the depth of Nigeria's experience and capabilities in conflict management, today it is without doubt that Nigeria stands in a good position to further strengthen peace and stability, as well as to build sustainable democracies across Africa. And we know that because regionally, we all know that, regionally Nigeria's effective efforts in institutional capacity for conflict management has been demonstrated, whether it is in Liberia, Sierra Leone, Togo, Guinea-Bissau, and Equatorial Guinea. And we know we still haven't, the job is not yet done. There are still big challenges to peace and security. And we need Nigeria to be leading the front together with other nations in Africa to be able to do that. So I wanted to say that about Nigeria's, that even though this is a historical event in Nigeria's history, but it is also important for us to understand the role that Nigeria plays and will continue to play within Africa. So let me get straight to it now.
Who am I to have any opinion about Nigeria at all as a British Ghanaian? But I take heart, Excellency, from the fact that I approach this subject at first instance in any event, historically. And after all, the histories of all three countries, Ghana, Nigeria, Britain, are inextricably linked, for good and for ill, but largely for good. And so I take heart from those historic linkages. Nevertheless, I couldn't but help reflect on the words of a former distinguished imperialist, Sir Hugh Clifford, who, addressing the West African section of the British Empire exhibition in my old constituency of Wembley, and addressing the assembled audience as, I quote, Governor and Commander-in-Chief of Nigeria in 1924, had this to say: the task allotted to me today is beset with difficulties, due in part to the subject matter of my address, and partly too to the probable composition of any audience which may be entrapped into listening to me. And when, Your Excellency, I look at the audience who have been entrapped into listening to me and my co-discussants tonight, I cannot but reflect with Sir Hugh Clifford that the subject matter is vast. And you, in this audience, I suspect, are both knowledgeable, because after all, it is your country, Nigeria, so you are knowledgeable, and robustly opinionated. Looking at you, I can see you are indeed a robustly opinionated audience. But of course you are, because you are, after all, Nigerians. And I would not expect you to be anything other as good Nigerians as being robustly opinionated. My approach is historical at first instance, because I do not believe it is possible to understand the present and its challenges without some examination of the past. And what better time to do it than at a centenary? But the main focus, too, of my remarks is an examination of some of the economic and political challenges that Africa as a continent faces and that Nigeria shares, and some tentative suggestions as to the way forward in terms of the development of both national and Pan-African institutions committed to the delivery of public goods. And the importance, I would argue, of the agrarian and the scientific emancipation of the continent of Africa and of Nigeria, if both continent and country are to fulfill their potential. For whether we like it or not, Africa is destined to become the continent of the present century. What happens there today must be material to the future course of the world's history. And may I be permitted to say, Nigeria is the key to the solution of Africa and its problems. Every sixth African is a Nigerian.
Nigerian leaders could imbue ideas of a great man like the late Mandela, stop fighting each other for money and power, and devote themselves to the welfare of their people and country. They could fulfill the promise of a nation blessed with human and natural resources. Then Nigeria would no longer be butt of the joke that God gave this country everything but good leaders. How many of you here know the joke? Well, when the world was created, all the other nations went to complain to God and said, how could you give Nigeria everything? You gave them intelligent people, you gave them oil, you gave them gold, you gave them everything, and you gave us almost nothing. And God just said, look, just wait until you see the leaders I give them.
Looking at this subject matter of the centenary of the amalgamation, the history of Nigeria, going back to well before the colonial period. I did a certain amount of research for this Lagos book, and it is the pre-colonial history of Nigeria. It's increasingly fascinating. But I can't restrain myself from saying a few more words about Lord Lugard. He was not a lord when he was in Nigeria, but he is a figure that I think marked Nigeria, and one cannot escape from looking at him when one is considering the centenary, having been principally responsible for the decision to simply amalgamate the North and the South, not taking the advice of his deputy, Temple, or of the campaigner Edie Morel, who had known Nigeria, that it would be more sensible to divide the country into 4 parts. But I think Lugard, having been the conqueror of Sokoto and Khan 20 years before, he had this identification with the North, and also the reasons, which are important and I think should be underlined. I did some of my research in a very, very favourable biography of Lugard written by Marjorie Parham, but it makes it very clear that the main reason why the British wanted to amalgamate was financial. That is, the North was bankrupt and the South had the money. Now, is that not an equation?
It is part of the national celebration. The President has flagged off this celebration since February this year. And a number of events have also followed. This is one of our contributions to the event of centenary. And we decided to invite non-Nigerians who know Africa, who know Nigeria, left, right, and center. And they have come, they have delivered, and we are very grateful. They are unbiased in what they said.
And that is it today on News Roundup for this week. I am Ayo Hajayi. Thank you for watching.